Hey guys, welcome to AITA Chronicles. Subscribe if you love chaotic Reddit drama. First story coming up.
Am I the asshole for telling my biological daughter I was nothing more than an egg donor and that her real mother is the woman who raised her? Sorry, this is long, but it's complicated and I really need some perspective. 25 years ago, my close friend Clara and her husband James were struggling with infertility. Clara couldn't conceive or use her own eggs. She asked me if I would consider carrying a baby for them to use my egg and James's sperm. I had already had my 2 kids and was done having children. I was hesitant at first, but eventually I agreed because I wanted to help my friend become a mother. 9 months later, their daughter Bella was born. From the start, Clara and James raised her as their own. I've always been auntie to her, just a close family friend, and that's all she ever knew. My own kids always knew the truth. I never hid it from them. They understood that Bella was biologically related to them and that I had helped my friend start a family. I never told Bella anything because I truly didn't feel it was my place. It was something her parents needed to decide if or when to tell her. A few weeks ago, Bella and her fiancé were at his family's house and they all did one of those DNA kits for fun. When the results came back, Bella saw that she had Cuban and Black ancestry, which confused her since she knows both her parents are white. Instead of asking them, she used the combination to their safe, which she had learned a while back, and started going through their personal documents. She found an old photo of me pregnant in a hospital bed with Clara holding my hand, and she also found paperwork about Clara's infertility. After that, she started pulling away, especially from Clara, and none of us understood why until everything exploded. My family and I were over at Clara and James's house helping with wedding prep. At one point, Clara and I were in the kitchen talking about my kids, and Clara mentioned that I had paid for both of their weddings. She wished she could do the same for her daughter. Bella must have overheard because she walked in and suddenly said that I should be paying for her wedding too, since she's also my daughter. I was totally thrown off. Clara asked what she meant, and Bella just snapped. She said I was her real mother and accused Clara and James of lying to her. She said she had grown up in a fake home while my kids got the life she was supposed to have. She slammed the photo on the table and stormed out with her fiancé. The next day, Clara asked me to come over. Bella didn't want to, but showed up later after Clara begged her. She told us about the DNA test and going through the safe and how she felt like this answered something she had always felt deep down. She said she's always been jealous of my kids, not just for their vacations or home life, but also because I gave them a good life without any hardships. She said she still loves Clara, but feels like she never really belonged, and now she thinks I'm the missing piece. She even called Clara a child snatcher. That's when I stepped in. I told her she needed to stop talking to Clara like that. She turned to me and said, "You're my real mother. Why don't you love me?" I told her as calmly as I could that I was nothing more than an egg donor. I told her I love her like a niece, and that's all. Clara is her mother, not me. I wasn't the one who raised her. I wasn't there for her childhood. Clara was. I never saw her as my daughter because that wasn't the role I had in her life. She left again, crying, and since then has sent me over 20 messages. Some are angry and some are pleading. She's asked me to meet with her and James because she says we're her real parents. She says she loves Clara, but insists she's always felt a disconnect and that I'm the reason why. Clara and I have been in touch since the blow-up, and we're both heartbroken. My husband thinks I should have a one-on-one with Bella, but honestly, I feel like there's nothing left to say. I didn't raise her. Clara did. She was always a wonderful mother, and up until now, she and Bella had a great relationship. I don't know why Bella is spiraling like this. Clara was there for every birthday, every school day, every scraped knee, heartbreak, and milestone. I made peace with my role in Bella's life a long time ago. I never saw myself as her mother, not because I didn't care, but because that was never the agreement. I helped a friend become a mother, and I kept that promise. So, ATIA? Edit. I am mixed myself. Bella has light skin with incredibly loose curls. From the outside looking in, she does look like Clara's biological daughter. As of me reading this, I honestly don't think the writer is the asshole at all. What she did was a huge act of love and sacrifice, giving her friend the chance to become a mother and then stepping back fully for 25 years. That's not cold, that's commitment to the role she agreed to. The real heartbreak here isn't in the biology, it's in the confusion and hurt that comes from learning a truth too late without the right emotional context. Bella's anger is real, but it's misplaced. The woman who raised her, loved her, and stood by her for every moment of her life, that's her mother. And trying to rewrite that story now doesn't erase decades of love. Anyway, that's one Tangled family story, but the next one, yeah, it's got its own kind of emotional storm. Am I the asshole for speaking obscenities in front of my family when my cousin came to apologize for sleeping with my sister's husband? As the title says, my 26 female cousin Carla, 28 female, slept with my older sister's husband. To make it clear from the start, said husband is a POS, but Carla is equally disgusting in my books. Anyways, Carla's parents felt the need to drag Carla to my parents' house and have her apologize to our family for the harm she caused. My sister was obviously not present, and my father refused to have this circus in our home. But Mom insisted because she felt bad for her sister. Carla is Mom's sister's daughter. So we are at my parents' place, my parents, me, my grandparents, Carla and her parents, with a crying Carla apologizing and explaining to all of us how it was a mistake and she did not mean for it to happen. I got mad and I told her, please do explain to us how was it a mistake? Because if you did not happen to step on a banana peel, slip, and fall right into my BIL's DK, I don't really see how it could have been a mistake. And if this is the case, you decided to stay there on the DK to finish the job since you landed so right? Carla's mother acted all offended and asked me how I can speak like this in front of my family and my elders. But I told her I feel it is appropriate since we have to listen to her daughter explain to us why she likes to fuck married men. After they left, Dad said he is proud of me for standing up for my sister and that I said everything he wished he could say himself. Mom is mad that I have spoken like this in front of my grandparents and claims that I didn't need to be so cruel. Carla didn't need to hurt my sister, but here we are. I plan to apologize to my grandparents for hearing me like this, but I'm curious just how much of an asshole was I towards them with my language. As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole at all. Could the language have been softer? Sure. But when someone nukes a family from the inside out by sleeping with their cousin's husband, they've kind of forfeited the right to a polite round of apologies. Carla didn't trip into that situation. She made a choice, and the writer called it exactly how it was, no sugarcoating. Sometimes honesty comes out ugly because the situation is ugly. And honestly, I think her grandparents probably understand more than anyone's giving them credit for. So nope, not the asshole here. Just someone who wasn't willing to pretend everything was fine. Now that that emotional bombshell's over, let's move on because Reddit is always got another twist waiting. Am I the asshole? My sister-in-law kept bringing up the statistics of men leaving their sick wives, and this is how I responded. I have been struggling with a medical condition, without revealing too much info, for over 2 months. My husband, M, is my primary caregiver. He wakes up 5 a.m., cleans up, prepares breakfast, then lunch for later. Then he goes to work. Then he gets off work and immediately comes home, cooks dinner, gets more stuff done around the house, and repeat. He does most of the work around and outside the house, plus he is the breadwinner. My sister-in-law, brother's wife, kept talking about how men leave their wives when they get sick. She'd comment things like, "Have you noticed any changes in his behavior?" Or "When was the last time you searched his phone?" basically implying that my husband is one of those men, even though she knows and she saw how much effort he makes to help out and support me. She'd even bring up statistics. She did it once in front of my husband, to which he responded with silence, but she kept staring at him as if she was waiting for him to react. I told her that this made me and my husband uncomfortable and that she needed to stop. Days ago, my husband was working late and couldn't prepare dinner. I can't cook for medical reasons. My brother and SI was visiting, so I ordered takeout. SI kept making passive-aggressive comments implying that my husband was probably starting to get tired of taking care of me. I couldn't take it anymore, especially after she brought up the statistics again. I snapped and told her that since she was at it, then she should check the statistics of men who leave their wives for not being able to get pregnant. She went pale, and my brother blew up at me, asking what was wrong with me for saying such a terrible thing to someone who cannot have children. He even had my husband leave work and come home. I couldn't argue much because I felt nauseous. They left eventually and got the rest of the family involved. My brother, SI, and her mother are wanting an apology. My mom and my husband said I shouldn't have escalated the situation. I understand that infertility is hard on her, but I feel like she was being deliberately hurtful to me. So now I want to know if I'm at fault here. As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole. I think she was pushed way past her breaking point by someone who kept poking at a deeply sensitive situation. It wasn't just one comment. It was a pattern of passive-aggressive digs that undermined her relationship and her sense of safety while she's already dealing with a serious medical condition. Yes, the infertility jab hit hard, and maybe it was harsh. But sometimes when someone keeps cornering you emotionally, you lash out with whatever hits back. It's not perfect, but it's human. And honestly, her sister-in-law had it coming. That said, let's keep it moving, because the next Reddit tale is already waiting and you won't want to miss it. Am I the asshole for not inviting my sister to my wedding after she constantly criticized my fiancé? So I am 28 female and am getting married in a few weeks to my fiancé, Jake, 30 male, and I couldn't be happier. However, my sister, Emily, 26 female, has made it painfully clear that she doesn't approve of him. It all started when Jake and I first began dating 2 years ago, and Emily's criticisms have only escalated since then. I get that she might have some reservations. Protective siblings look out for one another, right? But when I say her comments have been harsh, I mean it. She's called him too lazy and not ambitious enough on more than one occasion, and she doesn't seem to understand how much it hurts me when she says these things. I've tried to brush it off, insisting that Jake treats me well and that we complement each other perfectly, but Emily continues to dismiss my feelings, and even when I ask her to stop, she insists she's just looking out for me. For context, yes, he has a job, but we both work at a mall. I at Sephora, and he as part of the maintenance/engineer team, and we have saved for this day. He's kind to me, and we share household chores. So when I asked her how she was lazy, she said he should have put his engineering degree to better use than working at some mall. The last straw was a few months ago when I shared that we finally got a beautiful venue for the wedding and that invitations would be going out soon. Emily jumped in with a snide remark about how I might end up regretting my choice in partners. I could feel my blood boil. I told her that I appreciate her concern, but I'm happy with Jake and don't want to hear any more negativity about him. After that conversation, I realized I couldn't invite her to our wedding. I just don't think I could enjoy my big day with her there making comments or rolling her eyes. It feels unfair to have her in attendance when she doesn't support my choice. When I mentioned my decision to my parents, they were furious. They think I should overlook Emily's behavior for the sake of family unity. They believe I should just ignore her criticisms and not make a scene. It's put me in a tough spot because I love my family, but I also have to protect my happiness and the day I've dreamed of for so long. Now I'm feeling really conflicted. Part of me thinks I should just invite her and try to have a good time despite her presence. Another part feels justified in my decision. Am I the asshole for deciding I don't want to invite Emily to my wedding? All fake names. To address some of the comments. The wedding is in 3 weeks, August 9th. My parents are the type that think she's an adult, she can make her own decisions. My fiancé is very supportive of whatever decision I make. He just wants me happy. The comments are coming in quite fast, so I will do my best to comment on the ones I feel need longer answers. Update, 9 p.m. Saturday. I spoke with my fiancé when he got home, and he said that he is 100% okay with me not inviting my sister, and that he also worried that she may have ulterior motives. But she's never treated him in any way that he thinks she might be into him, and that actually really freaked him out. But he also said if my parents chose not to come to the wedding, his father would probably be more than happy to walk me down the aisle. His family kind of loves me, and me and his father and mother get along so well. I got lucky in the mother-in-law department. We're meeting with them on Monday to discuss the stipulations and our decision not to invite her to the wedding. So I'll have that update for everyone either Monday evening or sometime Tuesday. As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole at all. Choosing not to invite someone who consistently disrespects your relationship, especially on your wedding day, isn't petty, it's protecting your peace. Wedding should be a celebration, not a battlefield of silent judgment and passive-aggressive comments. Emily might think she's being protective, but at a certain point, constant criticism crosses the line into just plain disrespect. The writer's done the emotional labor, tried to explain, tried to be fair. And honestly, enough is enough. If someone can't support your happiness, they don't get a front row seat to it. That's just how it is. Anyway, that's one family drama down. But the next one, let's just say it's a whole different level of chaos. Am I the asshole for locking my mother-in-law out of the house after she kept showing up uninvited at night? So for the past few months, my mother-in-law has made it a habit to randomly show up at our house uninvited. And I'm not talking daytime visits. I mean late night, knock on your door when you're in your PJs kind of visits. The most ridiculous one was about 2 weeks ago. She showed up at 9:15 p.m. I let her in. 15 minutes later, she went to the kitchen and said, "So there's no cooked pasta in this house? I'm hungry." I was shocked, but tried to be respectful and told her nicely that we weren't expecting guests and had already eaten. She scoffed, just full-on attitude because I didn't have her preferred dinner ready. Another time, around 9:30 p.m., she came. Again, no warning, no heads up. I had just put the kids to sleep and I was trying to wind down. I opened the door and told her she really needs to call before coming over, especially this late. She cut me off and said, "I'm not a stranger in this house." Like that's an excuse to show up whenever she feels like it. I have had enough. I spoke to my husband multiple times, and he keeps saying, "That's just how she is." Cool, but that's not how I am, and this is my home too. So yesterday, she pulled up again around 8:50 p.m. I saw her through the window and didn't even bother opening the door. I locked it, turned off the living room lights, and let her knock. After 10 minutes of knocking, she called my husband who was out at the time. He asked me why I wasn't letting her in, and I told him flat out, "Your mom isn't coming in tonight. I've talked to her, I've talked to you. Boundaries are not optional." Now she's playing the victim, telling family I locked her out in the cold. It was 26 degrees Celsius outside, and she has her own damn house 10 minutes away. Am I the asshole? As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole at all. Honestly, they've been way more patient than most people would be in this situation. Setting a boundary, especially with family, is hard enough, but when it's ignored over and over, You have every right to draw a line. This isn't about pasta or just how she is. It's about respect. The writer gave warnings, had conversations, and made it clear what wasn't okay. And yet, the mother-in-law just kept barging in like it was her own place. Sometimes people don't take you seriously until you stop opening the door, literally. Anyway, that's one chaotic family boundary showdown. But stick around because the next story, it gets even messier. My 37M boyfriend said he'll just keep his daughter away from me because I said I felt disrespected. Am I being too sensitive, or is this a red flag? Hi Reddit. I'm 27F and I've been dating a 37M for over a year. He has a 5-year-old daughter, and as things have gotten more serious, I've tried to be thoughtful and respectful in how I show up not just for him, but in how I connect with his child and family. But something happened recently at a family dinner that really hurt me, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm overreacting or if this is something more serious. We were at a dinner for his mom's birthday. His daughter was sitting in the booth behind me and kept tapping me on the back of the head over and over. It wasn't aggressive, but it was physically repetitive, and I probably let it happen 5 or 6 times and didn't say anything. I didn't want to cause a scene or make her feel bad. She's a kid. Eventually, his mom noticed and said something to him in Spanish, telling him to have her stop. That's when he turned to me and asked, "Do you feel disrespected?" I said, "Yeah, I kind of do." And instead of taking that seriously or stepping in, he immediately said, "Too bad." And then he turned to his daughter and said, "Keep doing it," jokingly. But of course, she's 5. She took that as a green light and kept doing it. What really hurt me wasn't the tapping itself. It was that I communicated how I felt in a calm, honest way, and he made it into a joke. He didn't step in or make me feel protected. And when I brought it up later in private, I tried to be clear about that. I wasn't mad at his daughter. I was disappointed in him. I told him it didn't feel good, that I voiced something that made me uncomfortable, and instead of having my back, he brushed it off and turned it into a game. That's when he said something that really shocked me. He told me that if I thought something like that was a big deal, then the only solution is to just keep his daughter away from me going forward. That if I can't handle small things like that, it's only going to get worse, and one day I'll probably make him choose between me and his kid. He also mentioned that he's never had to balance being a father and being in a relationship at the same time, and he doesn't know how it's supposed to work. I do understand that. I know it can be complicated, and I know this is new for him, but I also believe that being new at something doesn't give you permission to shut down your partner every time they express a need. So, am I overthinking this, or is this as big of a red flag as it feels? As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is being too sensitive at all. What's really frustrating here isn't the kid's behavior, it's the boyfriend's reaction. She calmly expressed a boundary, and instead of even trying to understand, he deflected, mocked it, and then basically punished her by saying he'll keep his daughter away from her. That's not a solution. That's emotional avoidance dressed up as defensiveness. If someone sees your vulnerability as a threat instead of an invitation to connect, that's a red flag, period. Relationships, especially ones that involve children, demand maturity, not sarcasm when things get real. Anyway, that's one mess of emotional miscommunication. But the next story? Let's just say the tension doesn't let up. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my roommate's girlfriend move into our apartment without paying rent? So, I, 25 years old, live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my roommate, Jake, 26. We've been friends since college and split rent, utilities, and chores evenly. Our lease is month to month, and we've always had bills get paid, place stays clean, no drama. About 2 months ago, Jake started dating Sarah, 24, and she's been spending a lot of time at our place, like a lot. She's here 5-6 nights a week, uses our kitchen, bathroom, Netflix, you name it. I didn't mind at first because she's nice enough, and I figured it was just the honeymoon phase. Last week, Jake sat me down and said Sarah's lease is ending soon and he wants her to move in with us. I was caught off guard, but asked how we'd handle rent and bills. He said Sarah's between jobs and can't afford to chip in right now, but she'd help out with chores, really. I pointed out that we already split chores evenly, and adding a third person means more mess, more utilities, and more strain on our small space. I suggested Sarah pay a third of the rent and utilities once she's employed, but Jake got defensive and said I was being petty and unsupportive. He argued that since she's his girlfriend, it's not like she's a stranger and I should be cool with it because we're all friends here. Here's my side. I get that Sarah's in a tough spot, and I don't want to seem heartless. I've been unemployed before, and it sucks. But our apartment is tiny. Shared bathroom, small kitchen, thin walls. Having a third person full-time would change the vibe, and I don't think it's fair for me to subsidize her living here. I pay $800 a month for my half of the rent, plus utilities, and I budget carefully. If Sarah moves in without contributing, I'm essentially covering part of her costs, which doesn't sit right with me. I also feel like Jake's dismissing my concerns by framing it as me being unfriendly rather than practical. Jake's side, as he explained it, he says Sarah's only temporary jobless and will make it up later. He thinks I'm overreacting because she's not some random tenant, but his girlfriend, and I should trust she won't mooch forever. He also said I'm making a big deal out of nothing since she's already here most of the time anyway. He pointed out that she's cooked dinner for us a couple of times, so she's contributing in her own way. The conversation ended with Jake saying I'm being unreasonable and that I'm making Sarah feel unwelcome. Now things are tense, and Sarah has been avoiding me when she's over. I don't want to ruin my friendship with Jake, but I also don't think I should have to pay for someone else to live here. Am I the asshole for putting my foot down? As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole, not even close. He's not saying Sarah can't ever move in, he's just saying it needs to be fair. That's not cooled, that's just called being an adult. This isn't about feelings or relationship status. It's about rent, space, and respect. Helping with chores doesn't keep the lights on, and it sure doesn't make up for someone living rent-free while two other people carry the financial load. Jake might be in love, but that doesn't mean the writer has to bankroll it. So no, not the asshole, just someone trying to protect their boundaries. Now, that's the end of this one, but the next story, it's got a whole new kind of drama. Let's get into it. Am I the asshole for allowing my daughter to wear thong-style underwear without consulting her friend's parents? All right, I've never used Reddit before, so apologies if this comes out as a wall of text, but I was recommended to post here in search of different perspectives. If you're a mom to a teen girl, I especially want to hear from your perspective. Background info. I'm a single father to my daughter, G. Her mom/my wife died in a car accident 7 years ago, and it's been just us since then, apart from in the past 6 months where I've gotten a girlfriend. I mention that to point out that we've managed through some of her big changes already, and being a man, I always thought I was doing a pretty good job of managing these welcome to womanhood moments. My daughter has told me I am doing good multiple times, but after this, I'm not sure I can even understand from my perspective. What happened? About a week ago, G comes to me and asks if we can chat about something. No problem. She tells me she wants to start wearing thong underwear. And my first question was, why do you want to wear sexy underwear? She explained it had nothing to do with sexy underwear and everything to do with how she wants to present herself publicly. She showed me examples of her issues, and I guess I hadn't really paid attention before, but she was right. In yoga pants, her normal underwear was only covering about 80% of her butt and made some really awkward shapes out of the remaining underside. She described it as 10 pounds of booty in a 5-pound bag. When she showed me the boy shorts underwear under the yoga pants, she said, "Visually, it looks like I'm wearing your boxers under these." And she was right. It was not a good look. She also explained that she felt like, if anything, these lines and awkward aesthetics would draw more attention to her body. Everything she said to me made sense logically. I tried to put myself in her shoes and could understand a teen girl not wanting to attract eyeballs to her body, and especially not negative attention. After thinking it over, I came to the conclusion that I simply don't care about what kind of underwear my daughter is wearing, and if it makes her feel confident in her body, that's all that actually matters. So, G got to go buy new underwear. She's less self-conscious about what people are looking at her, and yeah, the world keeps spinning because it's not a big deal. Conflict. Here's where I start to question myself in my ability to see from the opposite perspective. I got a call from the mother of my daughter's friend. She called to tell me that my daughter was a bad influence on her daughter, that she had been obviously corrupted by the internet, and G was trying to turn my daughter into a slut to have someone to whore around with. I was caught by surprise by all that, and she drops, "Did you know your daughter is wearing thongs and showing boys at school?" I say yes to the first part, and the second part just doesn't sound like my daughter. She says some pretty messed up things like, "I'm allowing my daughter to become a hoe. She's too young to be sexualized in this way. No wonder she's becoming a slut because you can only turn her into what you know," and also pretty heavily implied that I allow my daughter to wear thong underwear so I can see her in it. Yeah. Super vile and extremely upsetting, to the point I had to go chop firewood for a good half an hour after that to get my emotions under control. When G was home, I talked to her about what I'd heard, and she very genuinely had no idea what I was talking about. She said the only people who knew were her friends, but not because she told them, they just could see the difference. She says the whole friend group wanted her to let them see, to show off the straps above her pants, even to borrow some of her underwear. She said no to all of that. I guess her friends went home after and asked their parents to make the change as well, which was likely the catalyst for the phone call I received. When discussing this with my girlfriend, she was obviously pissed about the things that were said about me and my daughter, but she also pushed back on me saying I should have discussed it with her friend's parents before agreeing. This was a pretty confusing statement to me, so I had her elaborate, and she said, "When one girl in a group starts wearing makeup, they all want to start wearing. When one starts wearing thongs, they all want to start. When one is allowed around boys unsupervised, they all want that freedom. You need to discuss these things with other parents, because when one girl takes a step toward womanhood, they all want to take that same step immediately." I can understand that perspective, monkey see monkey, but I would never discuss my daughter's development toward womanhood with another parent. A doctor, a therapist, any type of professional, sure, but to call another parent and be like, "Hey, my daughter is wearing thongs now, are you okay with that?" seems very strange to me. Am I the asshole for not discussing this change with the other parents in the friend group before saying yes? TLDR. Daughter changes to thong underwear. Friends notice. A game of Chinese telephone featuring teen girls ensues. I get a phone call saying I'm a perv and my daughter is a slut. Girlfriend says these changes should be discussed with other parents within the friend group before being made. I'm unsure of that because discussing my daughter's development toward womanhood with another parent is not something I would be very comfortable doing. As of me reading this, I don't think the dad did anything wrong, and honestly, I think he handled a pretty awkward situation with more grace than a lot of people would. His daughter came to him with a personal, body-conscious concern, and he actually listened instead of shaming her or brushing it off. The fact that another parent jumped straight to accusations and disgusting assumptions says more about their mindset than anything this girl is doing. Yes, kids influence each other, but that doesn't mean your kid's choices need to be micromanaged by every other parent in the group. This dad respected his daughter's autonomy while still being present and engaged, and if anything, that should be the model, not the exception. Anyway, that's one parent doing his best. Now, let's roll into the next AITA post, and trust me, it's just as messy. Am I the asshole for putting a stop to my 12-year-old daughter's period party? Let me set the stage. My wife and I, 43 male, 42 female, have 2 daughters, 7 years apart. 19-year-old was at college in a different state when this happened. Girls are very different. 19-year-old is outgoing, even extroverted, loves meeting new people, trying new things, etc. 12-year-old is shy, a homebody, finds things she's comfortable with, and sticks with them. In fairness, 19-year-old was kind of like this until she was 16 or so. Maybe it's genetic. A couple months ago, 12-year-old comes to me in my home office, obviously upset, stammers a bit, then manages to tell me that she just got her first period. I played the supportive dad, comfort her, and get her a box of sanitary pads my wife had bought earlier in the year, guessing this was going to happen sooner or later, and go over the instructions with her. She goes into her bathroom, does what she has to do, thanks me for my help. I got her some ice cream and Midol, told her there was nothing to be embarrassed about, and she could always come to me for anything. Wife gets home later that day, 12-year-old tells her what happened. Wife starts crying, my little girl is growing up, etc., then asks who should be invited to the period party, which I only knew of from listening to Bert Kreischer. If they were a thing when our 19-year-old started, she never asked for one. 12-year-old immediately closes off, says she doesn't want one, doesn't want anyone to know. Wife tries to talk to her some more, but 12-year-old ignores her and goes to her room. Wife tries to enlist my aid in changing her mind, but I tell her she said she didn't want one. Don't worry about it. 2 days later, I get home from running errands, and before I can even make it to the stairs, 12-year-old runs up to me and asks if she can do her homework in my office. I'm confused, but say sure, and she bolts upstairs. At this point, I started to suspect what was going on and walked into the living room to find that my wife had not only decorated it like something which wouldn't have looked out of place on my super sweet 16, but there were several family friends, all women, and a few I recognize as neighborhood mothers. I beckon wife into the hall. She asks where 12-year-old is, and I tell her she wanted to do homework in my office. She rolls her eyes and starts to move past me, but I step in front of her. Me. What are you doing? Wife. Going to get 12-year-old. It's her party. Me. She told you specifically she didn't want one of these. Wife. Oh, she didn't mean that. This is an important time for a girl. She needs to know not to be ashamed of her body. Me. She's not. I already explained things to her. She just doesn't want to talk about it more for right now. Wife. I don't expect you to understand. This is just for us women. She actually tried to push past me, but I stepped into the doorway and completely blocked her. Wife, what's wrong with you? Me, what's wrong with you? You know how shy 12-year-old is. You knew she didn't want you doing something like this, and you did it anyway. Wife, I told you it's for her own good. We can't let her grow up with a negative attitude towards something so natural. Me, and we're not. I told you she knows what's going on, she's getting a handle on it, she just doesn't want to talk about it with anyone else for right now. Wife, well, it wasn't your business to tell her about it anyway. Me, you were at work. Was I supposed to ignore her for 4 hours until you got home? Wife, you could have called me. I would have come home. Me, it still would have taken you an hour. She was upset. I knew what was going on. I talked her through it. Wife, you don't know anything about it. It's never happened to you. At this point, I gave up. Point to my wife. No, I've never had a period, but I had 3 older sisters and a living girlfriend before my wife and I met. Plus, we've been married almost 21 years. I'm pretty well versed. She again tries to move past me, but I don't move. Me. No, 12-year-old doesn't want this. I'm not letting her make her do it. Wife. Fine. Have it your way. She goes back to the living room and tells the other ladies the PP is off because I'm being a jackass. I lose it, follow her in, and let the women know calmly but in no uncertain terms that I appreciate what they wanted to do, but 12-year-old made explicitly clear that she did not want this party and my wife is trying to pressure her into it. Several of the moms frown at her. My wife starts to backpedal, talking about how she didn't think 12-year-old was being serious, but I ignore her and begin taking down the decorations. Everyone clears out shortly, and once the coast is clear, 12-year-old comes back downstairs. My wife gives her a half-assed, in my opinion, apology, again saying she didn't think 12-year-old was serious, but 12-year-old also ignores her and just starts doing her homework in her usual place at the table. My wife was pissed at me for a week, claiming I undermined her authority as a parent, apparently by not helping her force our daughter into doing something she didn't want to do, and made her look bad in front of the neighborhood moms by telling them she'd been doing this against our daughter's wishes. So, am I the asshole? As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole at all. Honestly, it sounds like he did exactly what any emotionally tuned-in parent should do. He listened to his daughter. This wasn't about ignoring a milestone. It was about respecting her boundaries when she was vulnerable and overwhelmed. The wife clearly had good intentions, but sometimes even good intentions can bulldoze someone's comfort if we're not careful. Forcing a party on a shy 12-year-old, especially after she clearly said no, isn't empowerment, it's pressure. And calling the writer a jackass for protecting his daughter's wishes? That's wild. He didn't undermine her, he stood up for their kid. So yeah, not the asshole at all. And now that this one's wrapped up, let's jump into the next story, because Reddit never sleeps and neither does the drama. Am I the asshole for telling my sister-in-law her son's speech impediment might be because of the way she talks to him? Reposting because my posting got removed on the other subreddit. My husband's sister has 3 kids, 6, 4, and 1 year. I don't know how to explain it, but she coddles them a lot. Like, she still spoon feeds the 2 younger kids and sometimes spoon feeds the older one if he doesn't want to eat. It's really weird for me, especially because my parenting style has always been encouraging independence. My own child is 2, and she eats by herself because I've never spoon-fed before. I just added that as an example of how her parenting is. She also baby talks really bad. For example, 6-year-old name, I gonna go store? Mama gonna go store and get you more, okay? This yucky, this big people food, you not like it. It makes me inwardly cringe because she also does this annoying baby voice to all the kids, including the 6-year-old. My mother-in-law does it too when she speaks to the kids, but I asked her to talk to my child normally. Her oldest has a speech impediment. He doesn't stutter or anything, he speaks clearly in a baby voice. His grammar is worse than my 2-year-old's, and he repeats words a lot. He speaks exactly how his mom talks to him. We were together the other night, and the 6-year-old was trying to explain something to my husband, and my husband just stared at him, looked at my sister, and said that he couldn't understand anything the 6-year-old was saying. His sister just laughed it off and explained what he was trying to say, but my husband was concerned and brought up the fact that he's going to 1st grade and he talks like this. His sister just said he'll grow out of it and that speech therapy won't do anything. I couldn't help myself and spoke up, saying that maybe if she encouraged proper language and spoke to him in a normal voice, it would help. She and mother-in-law did not like that. They got angry and told me that I'm just way too harsh of a parent and that I'm a horrible person. I left in tears, and my husband says that while he agrees with me, maybe it wasn't my place to bring up. Am I the asshole? As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole. It might have stung to hear, but someone needed to say it. When a 6-year-old is speaking like a toddler and heading into 1st grade, that's not just a quirky parenting style, it's setting the kid up for real struggles, especially in school. The writer didn't attack her sister-in-law. She pointed out a concern with compassion and a little tough love. And honestly, sometimes people need to be uncomfortable before they decide to do better. So no, not the asshole, just someone who spoke the truth in a room full of people pretending nothing was wrong. Anyway, let's keep it rolling because the next Reddit story is just as wild. Am I the asshole for refusing to cut off my hair because my 7-year-old niece has cancer? The title probably already tells I'm the asshole, which I probably am, but I just need other people's opinions on my situation. I am 17, male. Unfortunately, about 6 weeks ago, my niece got diagnosed with ALL. Considering she has pretty much had health issues since birth, words cannot describe how bad I feel for my aunt, uncle, cousin, and especially my niece. It basically broke their family apart, and even though I had never been that close with them, I really tried to emotionally support them, especially my cousin, to really let him know that I'm there for him and that he can tell me whatever is going on inside his mind at any time, anywhere, which he has already done a couple times. Now, I'll get to the point. Last week, due to the results of chemo, my niece's beautiful long blonde hair started to fall off, which they immediately shaved down. I'm not native English, sorry if I make this sound weird, but the next day, a group chat including the entire family was created where my aunt announced it would be wholesome if everyone shaved their hair off as well to show their support, including a picture where the four of them all smile without any hair on their head. As soon as I saw this, I thought it was wholesome, but doubted anyone else would do it. 2 hours later, I arrive home to see both my sister and mother bald, following by my other cousin and grandma. The next day, when I woke up and entered the living room, my mom asked, "When are you ready to do it?" while holding an electric hair trimmer. I originally thought it was something to decide on your own, but since everyone else is doing it, I'm kind of being pushed into a corner. I really don't want to sound egoistic, but I'm a guy with long hair, which over the years has basically become my personality. It's pretty much the only thing about myself I love, and I really don't think I want to shave it off. Yes, if I shave it, my niece could be shocked that her long-haired cousin finally shaved his hair off in order to support you. But if I have to keep things real, I might sound extremely rude here, but my aunt made a video showing my niece's reaction to my mom and sister shaving their heads off, and she did not even seem to slightly care about it. The video went like this. Aunt trying to show the picture to my niece, who is watching a cartoon. She has to tap her maybe 4 times to get her attention, and when she looks, she just stares at it, says, "Wow," and continues watching her cartoon. I noticed after this video, my mom started to kind of become pushy towards me shaving my hair to show my support. Again, this might sound rude, but in other words, she wants to drag me down into the pit with her. This morning, I got a text from my aunt where she said it would be really nice if I shaved my head as well in order to show my emotional support towards my niece. If we have to keep things real, shaving my head will basically change nothing in the entire situation. But I can't just say no, can I? I seriously really don't know what to do. If my aunt would have shown a little more appreciation to my sister and mom, I would have probably considered it. But considering she did not even reply to the pictures and just immediately showed them to my niece, as if you have to do it, I don't think I'm willing to do it. Don't get me wrong, I really love my niece, and even though I'm not that close with her, I always really cared about her and made sure she always felt comfortable with me. And I have a lot of fun memories with her when she was a little girl. It's just that when they moved a couple towns away, we started seeing them less and less. But really, what do I do? I'm almost getting threatened to cut off my hair by 3 people. And if I do decide to do it, what if no appreciation is shown? Yes, I would have done it to show support from my side, but if it's nowhere to be appreciated, then what's the point? As of me reading this, I don't think the writer is the asshole at all. Honestly, I think he's just being real about something deeply personal. Hair might not mean much to everyone, but for him, it's tied to self-worth, and he's already showing support emotionally in ways that matter. Not everyone needs to go bald to prove they care. And pushing someone into a public gesture they're not comfortable with doesn't magically make it meaningful. It just builds resentment. The fact that he's even questioning himself shows how much he does care. So no, not the asshole.
Am I the asshole for feeling hurt that my husband's stepmom hijacked our wedding and left us alone on the day? My husband and I got married abroad earlier this year in Australia. We chose the location partly so his dad wouldn't have to travel twice in a short space of time. His husband's brother is also getting married next year, and 2 big UK trips would have been very expensive for his dad. We were already planning to travel to Australia anyway, and we both loved the idea of a warm beach wedding. It was also significantly more affordable than doing it in the UK. Plus, UK weather is horrible, and it probably would have rained. We were even able to travel to Bali for a couple of days as our honeymoon. It was actually my parents who suggested we get married in Australia, even though they couldn't afford to attend. They supported the idea and were able to watch the ceremony live via video call, which meant a lot to me. When planning the day, we expected it would just be his dad and stepmom attending, maybe with her daughter and son-in-law, but that they would leave early as they have children, and we didn't really want children there. But after everything was booked, including the photographer, we were asked if the grandkids could come. We felt awkward saying no, so we agreed, even though it wasn't what we had originally envisioned. His dad and stepmom kindly offered to pay for the celebrant and the license, while we paid for the venue. The issue started when his stepmom chose our wedding colors without asking me. I wanted a simple black and white theme. She decided it would be blue. She bought her outfit and the girls' dresses without me even seeing them first. She also ordered chairs and brought horrible fake lilac flowers without my input. We had previously asked them not to order anything until we had chosen the venue, as we had provisionally booked 3 different locations and planned to decide once we got to Australia a week before the wedding. But she did it anyway. Fast forward to the day of the wedding. The ceremony was at 11 a.m. We had our photos booked at 5 p.m. on the beach. Since we had originally planned for only a few people to be there, our plan was to have a drink with everyone after the ceremony at a bar close to the wedding venue where they could have had food, and then they would head off and we would go to the beach with just his dad and stepmom. They would have been in some of the photos with us too, which would have been lovely and meaningful. That was how we pictured the day going. Simple, relaxed, and focused on the people closest to us. I didn't want a big meal in the afternoon in my wedding dress. I was worried about bloating, getting it dirty, and generally not feeling photo ready. Stepmom was concerned that the children needed to eat and that they couldn't wait until 7 p.m. evening to have food. The bar they wanted to go to didn't serve food until 5 p.m. They had bar snacks like fries, etc., but not actual food, if you know what I mean, which was too late for us as it was when we needed to be having the photos taken. We had other restaurants in mind, but the distance seemed to be an issue. So we suggested we all go back to their house for drinks and the kids could have some food there, and so could anyone else if they wanted to, as there would only be a max of 9 people. That way I could take off my dress, I could have a small snack, we could cut the cake, and then head to the beach for photos. Afterwards, we planned to go for a nice dinner with just his dad and stepmom. They seemed okay with this plan when we discussed it a week before the wedding, so we assumed it was all agreed. As we told them, if it's not okay, we can book a table at any of the other places we had been to visit. Every place we went to were happy to book a table, and they didn't want paying in advance or deposit, etc., as they said it wasn't a lot of people. We still had a week to go, and it's easy to book a table for 6 adults and 3 kids. You don't need to book in advance or even pay in advance, so either way, it's fine. We had already told the family any food or drink consumed is for us to pay for, but it was agreed to be done at their house where the kids had a pool to play as well, so that was a bonus, and food was purchased to accommodate this plan. And no, it didn't all need to be cooked. But when we got to their house around 1 p.m., she suddenly said, "Well, we're going out for dinner now. Have fun," and winked. And just like that, they all left. She didn't even mention it to us in the week after we had agreed to go back to their house that she had arranged for anything else to happen. We were left sitting alone on our wedding day. No reception, no toast, no meal. Just waiting until it was time to go to the beach for our photos. We couldn't even cut the cake we had brought because they were gone. Later that evening, we had a quiet dinner alone, just the 2 of us, at the restaurant on the beach. Not by design, but because everyone else had gone. We ended up cutting the cake awkwardly that night at about 9 p.m. with just his dad and stepmom after we all got back.
They got back at about 6 p.m. from their meal out. Our photos were booked for 5 p.m. I tried not to let it ruin the day, especially because we were staying with them for another 2 weeks and I didn't want to cause tension. But honestly, it really hurt. I didn't feel like a bride. I felt like the event had been taken over by her preferences and then discarded when it no longer suited her schedule or the kids' mealtime. I know they technically contributed financially, and they probably feel like they helped a lot. But to me, it felt like the day was hijacked and then abandoned. Am I the asshole for still feeling upset about this? And for thinking she made our wedding about herself and the grandkids instead of us? Edit. We are planning to do something on our wedding anniversary to redo. And yes, I know it's not the conventional wedding with lots of guests. We only thought there would be like 2 guests right at the end. Some of it might not make sense to you. It doesn't to me. But it's just the whole situation. And yes, I should have said something at the time, but it happened so fast. Also, this was all planned out and had been for at least 2 months. The kids being included happened 1 week before the wedding. And yes, we should have stuck to our guns and said no kids, but it was so awkward, especially because they already had dresses and I believe were told they were coming by the stepmother. It was after the kids got confirmed, it all changed, and then on the day of the wedding, they just went out for the meal. We were not told beforehand that they had booked anything. They just left and went for their family meal. If we had a chance, we would have gone with them, but it was so unexpected.